Greetings everyone, I am Sister Lilia and welcome to my armory. It is now the 10th anniversary of the Imperial Knights. Now, the white dwarf behind the knight here says that Knights came out on the 22nd of February, but realistically, they were put on pre-order then, so today is the 10th anniversary instead. Well, this weekend is the 10th anniversary. So, let's get that crap off it. So, yeah, here is kind of a hodgepodge, really. My knights are in the process of being restored at the moment. So, we have the Knight Gallant, which has been equipped as a warden at the moment. This knight was second-hand and has this annoying habit of the shoulders not wanting to stay done up on account of breaking. I also reposed it so that it can be a bit more emotive. And I still need to glue the head on, so yeah. So now we can do a "Are you not entertained?" pose. That wasn't intentional, but it's happened. So yeah, 10 years ago, give a few numerical day number things, the Imperial Knights came out and they shook things up big time for 40k. Now, if memory serves me, the previous year the Eldar had got their Wraith Knights, which shook things up because it gave the Eldar mini Titans. The Grey Knights had been kind of the first one to really change the trend with 40k of, okay, an army gets a big unit. Not every army has. But Knights were introduced at the beginning of 2014, and they really shook things up for 40k. Now, this video isn't so much of a review. This isn't a review video. This is a retrospective, and the damn thing's arm doesn't want to stay on. What does the shin plates? Now, as I said, I've got this thing partway through working on it, which is why it isn't glued together. And now it doesn't want to move anywhere. So yeah, the base is a work in progress, but yeah, let's just get rid of that damn turntable. So yeah, the Knights are an interesting design. The idea of doing a kind of modular, having the arms so they can be removed, was a good one. But because of the thickness of the pins, if you can see it, that little pin here, the little pin that's there, there's two of those, one at the top and one at the bottom, and they aren't strong. So the arms of a knight break off it, and you end up with situations like I've had here. Now I'm using blue tack to hold it on. There are better options like super glue. Now the knight has banners. Now when it first released, there was two variants on the kit. It came with the paladin variant and the erant variant. So you had the big thermal cannon or the twin shot rapid fire battle cannon. And yeah, this magazine I could have done a video on last week. Alongside them was launched things like a dedicated transfer sheet that was launched separately, and there wasn't really all that many other things with it. Of relevance to the knight from this book. Like, Knights had been part of the setting before, back in the old days of Epic, particularly I think Titanicus, when it was first called that. And they'd kind of existed back then as well. Well, they existed in the background, but not really been an important point with 40k for a very long time. Now, that especially happened when Armigers kind of went away and things became Forgeworld. A lot of the old epic models that Armicast had adapted from the old epic designs ended up not being continued. The Baneblade was, and eventually the Titans were changed over to have new designs, which I'm going to say look better than the old 90s ones. Some people will argue with me on that, I suspect, but I don't care. But yeah, the Knights changed the game forever when they came out. In one fell move, GW both changed the scale of Warhammer games and the amount of firepower that people had to either field or fight against. Knights, when they first launched, were these terrifying things to face, especially if you didn't have the money to have one, because they basically just wreck shop across your entire army, and there was little you could do to stop it without having to invest a lot into anti-tank. Like, one of these things was 2 to 3 times the cost of a Lehman Russ, and did a heck of a lot more than a Lehman Russ does in a game. I mean, sure, Lehman Russ had grinding advance, which eventually gave them the ability to fire their main gun twice. That wasn't until 8th edition. Grinding advance used to be that the Lehman Russ just got to fire its main weapon after it moved. That's what it was. But I digress. The first 2 variants of the Knight that launched were the paladin and the erant. Later, variants were added in the form of the warden, the crusader, which was a knight which had the option to take either the battle cannon or the thermal cannon, and it came with the warden's Avenger bolt gun, or Avenger bolt cannon, I think it's called. And then there was the variant called the gallant, which had which combined the idea of having a chainsword on one arm and a thunderstrike gauntlet or fist on the other. That's what this knight was originally, and that's what it will be when I finish my crusader. This will be a temporary thing as it is, but the base is sunk in the middle. And yes, I'll go into my basing scheme later in the month. So yeah, scale comparison for those who haven't seen what a knight is scaled like next to other units. We've got a Lehman Russ. We've got the Ballastaris dreadnought, which you can't really see because I need to paint the sodding thing. We have Redemptor Kainovach, the Blessed Banner Sister from earlier in the week, a converted Ogren Commissar, which is made from the Black Powder Buccaneers model, and a Krieger. Yeah, I don't have many good things to share size-wise. Because, yeah, the size of these things is big. Like, they're not super big, and as far as the kit, it could have aged better. Like, the only real posability this thing has is in the waist and in the arms, and it's now a nearly $200 kit. It really needed more posability in the legs, and I'm glad that I think that's the thing with the plastic version of the Cerastus Knights, which are the newest success of this in plastic, and also an outright successor to it in resin. Yes, the success of Imperial Knights meant that Forgeworld went, hey, we're going to make new stuff for that. Note how they haven't for the Genestealer Cults or the Sisters of Battle. Or really for the wh40k mechanicus. Like, what did wh40k mechanicus get from Forgeworld? They got some Secaturi, or Ciarian Guard, or they got basically Titan Guard. That's it. Like, Forgeworld went, no, we'll keep doing 30k mechanicus, but we won't actually make anything new. Now, I've got the banner off this both because it broke off early on into my ownership of the model, and because I need to do a bit more work on it and maybe add some honours on there or something. I need to work out heraldry for this thing. Yes, knights make for a good canvas. I am just not that great of an artist. Yes, prior to getting this thing, prior to actually fielding knights in my army, the closest thing I had to anti-tank was a scratch-built Valdor from Forgeworld, or a scratch-built take on a Forgeworld Valdor. That thing was terrible. It really showed in games when I fielded it against against a knight paladin. The paladin it absolutely shredded the warden. It shredded the Valdor, and the Valdor did more damage to itself than it did to the enemy, and I'm still annoyed about that. Like, it's all very well giving units rules that allow them to do if you're going to give a tank a weapon that overheats, you need to actually, make it a good weapon. Maybe give it some measure of mitigation against failure. That being said, that was 7th edition, which is checks notes 2 to 3 editions ago. The Knights Codexes I have in the background there, I got that one to field my Knight Paladin when I first got my Paladin, which is getting restored this month and is currently in bags after having stripped it apart and after having broken it down and stripped it apart back in 2020, and life got in the way. And then we have my 8th edition Knights Codex, which I'd got with the hope of running Knights and didn't. I fought against Knights. They are a painful foe. Even in 8th edition, they were pretty rough to deal with. Melter Sisters were the way. I attempted an eviscerator charge with both a canoness and a priest against one, and that didn't work very well. It was funny, but just watching as a priest, as this crazy maniac with a giant chainsaw charges at a titan, and the thing just proceeds to laugh and stomp him in one go. I did not use sport guard assets. I had in that army very well. There was a fun moment where Valkyrie decided it wanted to get a bit too close to a shadow sword, and the shadow sword just pivoted its main gun. I'm pretty sure the pilot of that Valkyrie would have been sweating pretty hard at that moment. But yeah. Like, knights are a neat thing. If you're needing some solid anti-armor units, they can be a good option. Or if you're needing something to counter other knights. Funny enough, knights are pretty good at that. There are bigger versions now, like the Knight Crusade, like the Knight Gallant, or the Cerastus versions. And there are smaller knights, like the Armiger, which, I will show one of them. I will be talking about more this later in the week. Yes. This video is me announcing Imperial Knight Month on the channel. Now, I do have a fair few things going. I do have a few other things going on, most notably gearing up for a convention. The pressures on my time may well affect the amount of nights that I can get content done on. I'm wanting to try and get nights up and running for to be able to field them as a functioning army by the end of the month. And on top of the 5 knights that I have in various states of awaiting work, this I bought at the start of December from a friend. The Crusader I got for my birthday in 2020, and the Paladin I got back in 2016 while I was couch surfing. Have run a few times in games that I no longer have the videos of. They used to be on the channel, but not anymore, sadly. Not that it really ever did much. Its first game, it got absolutely brutalized by Khan the Betrayer in a weird World Eaters blob. I don't understand how movement gets shared between units. Like, somehow, like, my understanding of the rules back in 7th was a unit has to move at the pace of its slowest model. Somehow my opponent got to move the unit at the pace of its fastest model, which didn't make sense. And yeah, the Knight Khan proceeded to have his Wordbearer squad, not Wordbearer, World Eater squad, shred through the Sisters of Battle units in front of the Paladin, and then he soloed the Paladin. The Paladin's pilot took this as an affront and overloaded the reactor, but still, that was horrible and hilarious. But yes, but in addition to those 5 knights, I've got the bits here, most of the bits for building 2 more armigers, including the leftover weapons from building the armigers out of the box. The few things I don't have is, I'm sure, 1 set of shoulders, 2 pairs of legs, and 2 heads, as in the back parts of the head. All of that can be worked around. Anyway, enough of me rambling on for however long it's been. Welcome to Imperial Knight Month, folks. I hope to have a whole lot of stuff on the channel soon. Happy birthday to the Imperial Knights. Stomp in the name of the Emperor.